Hey everyone, it is June 18th today, and there's been a lot that's happened writing wise for me. I think I filmed a bunch of vlog footage for finishing my first draft that I don't think I actually ever posted, so we'll see if I can find that, if I can put that together before I do this one. But whether that one comes up or not, I did finish the first draft of the fantasy novel that I was working on, which was super cool. I was really, really excited to be able to finish that and finally have that milestone met of that first draft. Now, lately, what I've been doing is going through it as my second draft. And how I'm doing that is I thought that might be a little bit helpful for some people. Because after you have your first draft, like, what do you even do? How do you know what to look for, and what changes need to be made? I think some people have the idea, like, immediately, like, certain parts you want to fix or look at, but others may not. So something that I like to do while I'm doing my first draft, while I'm writing it, is as I get ideas for ways that can be improved or character development, I don't necessarily go back and write it right then, but I make a list in an area. So I just have this list of, oh my gosh, let me see if I can find it. I can find the list. I have to see if I know how many things are on the list. Yeah, so I have this list of things to do, and it has 33 things on it. 33 things that I need to make sure that I add or clarify, or adjust or make changes to as I'm going through this second draft here of this book. Now, some of them are super simple, like I changed a spelling of a character's name. So I just did Control F and I changed his name in all the areas that I found there. So, like, that one was really easy to cross off, and just as I go through it, I'll make sure that's correct. So some are really easy like that, but then I have others where it's like, okay, I have to build up more of like a flaw in one of the main characters, who's the love interest. I gotta make sure that her flaw is more apparent than it was originally. And so things like that, where I want to make sure my characters are well rounded and that the plot is interesting and has enough, twists and turns in it. And so as I come up with ideas, I just make a list, and I try not to stress about going in and do it the moment that I think of that idea. So yeah, that's how I'm handling my second draft right now. It's going really well currently. I have been able to get through like a chapter or two each session that I've been working on it. This last couple of days have been a little slower because I found a chapter that needs to be written. So I found a chapter that was missing that I needed to add, and so I'm having to write that for the first time. So that takes a little bit longer. But honestly, as I'm going through it, my first drafts take forever for me to write, forever. Because I'm figuring out the story. I don't plot a ton beforehand. And so if you are a pantser like me, the first draft you might find it takes you forever. Some people are speedy writers. So if you're speedy, great. Good for you. I envy you, honestly. But for me, the first draft takes forever because I am discovering the story as I'm writing it. My drafts afterwards tend to go much faster because I have the story, the bare bones of it. I generally, because of my list as I write, have an idea of how I need to build it up further. And so I've got my list and I go from there as I edit, and we'll see. I'm hoping to have the second draft done here within the next few weeks, and being able to make a lot of progress there. So yeah, we'll see. I actually really don't need your help filming right now. I don't know if you knew that. I appreciate it though. You're so willing to offer help. I love that so much. Okay, so it is June 23rd. Yes, it's the 23rd of June. So it's been a few days since I filmed. That's just because it's been a crazy weekend and couple of days. My birthday was just on the 21st. So I did not do any writing stuff that day. We spent time with family and out in nature instead, which is wonderful, right? It's so great. It just doesn't make good for writing updates or anything. I don't remember where I was in the second draft of my fantasy book the last time I talked to you guys, but I currently
am more than halfway through chapter 8 of my revisions right now. So it's going slow but steady. Those brand new ones is what takes me forever. It takes like 2 or 3 days for me to write a brand new chapter. So that's what's been taking me the longest. Is chapter 7 is a new chapter I had to add, and then I'm shifting all the chapters as I go through, right? So chapter 7 was a brand new one that I just finished. Now we're almost through chapter 8, which was an existing chapter. And I think everyone's a little bit different with their drafting. I think if you're somebody who, if you're a very fast writer, possibly, this is not true for everyone, but I think possibly then your drafts might need a little bit more cleanup or something. A little more tweaking, a little more revisions, just because you were able to get the words out quickly. Maybe they weren't phrased exactly how you like. Whereas I am the type of person, unfortunately, that I'll be able to get a chunk out and then I get stuck on like one sentence. And I will make sure that that sentence is beautiful before I leave it, which then is very painful and awful in the moment. But later on when I'm coming to do the revisions, those sections are often ones that are some of my favorites and are the most cleaned up and I hardly have to touch. So that's the give and take, with being a slow versus a fast writer for myself at least. If I try to push myself to be faster, I notice my revisions, I often have to cut a lot of those sections where I pushed myself faster versus where I took my time. I really played things out, made sure it was what I wanted it to be before I moved on. So, that's, again, you got to find what works for you. I know everyone is so different. I think really you have to just you have to just test things out. Are you someone that if you do push yourself faster, it actually helps you because you're able to get the story out versus agonizing over how to phrase one thing correctly? Or are you somebody that taking that little extra time in the end actually makes the process easier for you? Are you someone who you need to plot the whole thing out? Are you someone who you just need to go in with general vibes and you're going to and the plot ends up being decent as you go? There's all these things that as a writer, you'll hear advice everywhere for, and unfortunately, a lot of the advice that people give is what works for their type of style and their type of writing, which makes sense. That's all we can do, right? That's all the advice we can give is stuff that works for us generally. But a lot of us, especially if you're a chaotic creative, you'll discover that not all the advice works for you, and so it's a lot of trial and error. Today will also be not a big writing day. I have work this afternoon that I need to go to, and then just some cleanup around the house. As you can see, just my couch is messy and littered with books and crayons and things like that. And then I've got laundry to do this morning, but I think I'll fit in a little bit of revision time, possibly enough to where I can finish up chapter 8 and move on. That is my biggest thing right now, is I'm just trying to get in little bits every day so that way I can get through the second draft fast enough to where I can get it to my alpha readers for them to get feedback for me. I just want this part of the process to be done and moving on, but it's definitely not at a point where I can have alpha readers giving me advice yet, because I know there's some things that need fixed. I know there's some stuff I want to do, so I need to make those changes first. If you hear that squawking, it's a book that makes noise that my toddler is currently playing with. So yeah, I need to make the changes that I know already need made before I hand it to people for that fresh view, where then they give me, hopefully things that I didn't catch that I need to work on there. Hopefully I can get through some of it, and we'll just keep chugging through until it's done.
So last week, I think it was last week, I was actually really productive with writing. I feel like I was able to get a lot done on the second draft that I'm working on currently, and then this week has not been productive at all. I missed at least one full writing session that I had planned, and then I just didn't get any done in between. So yeah, like usually I have my set writing sessions where I have like an hour set where I know I'm going to work on it, and then I know that there's more I want to do outside of that hour, so usually I'll try to fit in a little bit here and there, and this last week that did not happen. So this week feeling a little more discouraged than I was last week with it, but I just had a really good session. I was able to get a couple pages done, plus go back and double check something that I had in the first couple chapters and make sure I clarified some things I needed to clarify. I was able to cross, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 things off of my little to-do list that I've made, which is like 40 things long. So I was able to get a few things there. I don't know, this week, like I said, not really a good motivational week, but I think that just goes to show, at least for all of us chaotic people, it's not going to be productive all the time. I'm not productive every single day with it. I'm not productive every single week with it. But hopefully, because this week wasn't very good, I'm hopeful that next week I'll be able to get a lot done. And I really have been reading a lot. I've been going to bed on time and trying to make sure that I'm getting the right amount of sleep. And so hopefully I'm refilling my creative well as I try to take care of myself and not have the chance to work on this as much. And so I'm very hopeful that by doing those things, I'll be able to build myself up for success this upcoming week here. And yeah, there's still progress. It's slow progress, but it's still progress. And I'm having to just constantly remind myself of that. And especially with this type of project, I thought this was going to be faster because I really wanted to focus on the romance more. I wanted this to be like a quick romance read originally when I was thinking of this, but because it's fantasy, not that you can't write a quick fantasy book. I don't want to say it like that. I think I'm phrasing that wrong. But with it being a fantasy book, as I wrote it, I realized that I was wanting to dive into the plot more and a little bit of the world. Not too much. I'm not into like tons of world building, but a little bit more. And because of that, it's not necessarily as quick of a book as I wanted it to be initially. It's not super long either. I'm only at, I'm at 99,111 words currently, kind of a fun word count right now. So not anything too crazy, right? It's not ginormous, especially for a fantasy book, but it is turning a little bit longer and more in depth than I wanted. And I think I've mentioned this before, but originally I was planning on this being a standalone book. And what I'm kind of trying to do is, what I wanted to do was have it be kind of a standalone, but in the same universe and have different couples in each book. But as I wrote this book, I realized that was not going to be possible with the plot that I wanted. And so I'm splitting it into 2 books. I'm going to make it a duology. And I still have other couples that I'll write books for later on. But to turn it to the story I want it to be able to cover the themes I want to cover and to get the character arcs I want to get, I have to cut it into 2 books. And that's just to make sure that, again, it's the story I want. And so I have to keep that in mind. Because, again, I keep getting disappointed in myself and with how slow I'm going. And also, it's okay because I'm writing the story I want it to write. I don't want to put this thing out into the world and regret it and think about how much better it could have been if I had just done these things that I have my list for, that I'm wanting to do and that I'm currently working on. So yeah, no, writing's going good. It's okay. Things are good. Life is good. And things will just get better next week. Well, thanks for hanging out with me in this weird and chaotic writing vlog. Catch you next time, I guess. Happy writing!
Just as surprised